On today's show, the Houston Rockets set to part ways with AJ Griffin, plus offseason updates from Rafael Stone, Ime Udoka, and Amen Thompson. It's all coming up on today's Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Mondays. Be sure to follow along wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Rockets, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Now, today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. And as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on your way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you for being an everydayer. Love having a snafu right at the top of the show. It's fantastic. We keep it genuine. We keep it authentic over here at LOR. All right. We're going to get into some offseason updates because we had the chance to catch up with Houston Rockets general manager Rafael Stone, head coach Ime Udoka, and Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, and Reed Shepherd at a community event that the Rockets held honoring first responders on 9/11. We'll run back some of that footage, some standout moments, some information shared from Udoka, Stone, and Thompson in particular. But before we get there, we'll talk about those guys a little bit later in the show. Before we get there, we're going to talk about the, I wish I could say surprising news, but I guess it is a little surprising this happened as quickly as it did. But reportedly, the Houston Rockets newly acquired forward, AJ Griffin, is seriously considering stepping away from basketball. This being reported by Shams Charania of The Athletic. Both sides, the Rockets and Griffin, are preparing for his departure from the game. First and foremost, my immediate reaction to this, having just, seen this news, it's really disappointing. I wish and hope for all the best for AJ Griffin moving forward. It seems, at least the tone of the news, the idea that AJ Griffin is going to be stepping away from the game, right? Stepping away from basketball would lead me to believe that there's things going on in AJ Griffin's life, extenuating circumstances in his life that are bigger than basketball. It could be, family obligations, off the court stuff, mental health challenges, whatever. It could be any combination of just factors, and we don't know the specifics. So I would urge everyone to, approach this situation with care and compassion during this time. I do really hope it's nothing serious for AJ Griffin's sake. And I do wish him all the best in his career moving forward if he does, decide to pick up basketball again somewhere down the line, what have you. It's disappointing because Griffin was such a highly touted prospect coming out of college. The Rockets internally were very high on him back in the 2022 draft. Remember, he was selected 16th overall by the Hawks, one slot before the Rockets were going to be on the board at 17 when they ultimately picked Tari Eason, and the Rockets would have been happy with either of them. Ultimately, the Rockets did get Tari Eason, and the rest is kind of history. So when they acquired AJ Griffin earlier this past offseason, it was an incredibly low-risk, potentially very, very high-reward play where you looked at a guy who had so much talent, so much potential just a couple of years ago, removed from being one of the most highly touted prospects in that draft. Obviously, he didn't go in the lottery, but still, the Rockets did their due diligence. They really thought he could have been a really special part of the young core moving forward. So when they got him for next to nothing from Atlanta, you were kind of scratching your head thinking, man, okay, well, maybe the Rockets, pulled a fast one on Atlanta, but it didn't work out there for a variety of reasons. He never really meshed with head coach Quinn Snyder, and he struggled from the basketball perspective of things, right? He's never really lived up to the potential that he had coming out as a draft prospect. And then you fast forward to this past offseason, you take a look at his summer league performances, and they left a lot to be desired, right? He didn't exactly seem like a guy that was ready to take the next step forward, a guy going into what would have been his third year in the NBA. And it really is just unfortunate. He had all the talent in the world. And I do think, there was, I was optimistic and I hoped that the change of scenery would have been what he needed to get his career back on track. And clearly with, both sides considering his departure from the game as per what Shams was reporting, it seems like that's not even going to be in the cards. Again, there's got to be something really significant going on in AJ's life to be willing to just completely step away from the game. So again, my thoughts are with him at this time. I hope it's nothing serious. But looking at things, kind of dialing things back and looking at it from a Rockets perspective, what does this mean for the Rockets moving forward? What does it mean for that roster spot? What are the financial implications for this? Well, the Rockets were capped out. They had their 15 guaranteed contracts already on the roster. So as it stands, AJ Griffin does have his contract. They've basically got an expiring deal for AJ Griffin right now. This season, he's set to make just under $4 million. And the following season, he's set to make just under $6 million. So he currently has team options on both of those years. I can't see. I'm unaware at this point, and I'm trying to figure it out if I can real time. I'm unaware if both of those years have been picked up, if both those options have been exercised, or if the Rockets still have time to decide whether they want to exercise those options. Essentially, he's an expiring contract. I think that's the best way to look at it. He's likely an expiring contract for this season of at least $4 million. Potentially, you could pick up the second option, the remaining year on his contract, for just under $6 million, and that would be yet another expiring piece of salary. So he could be used potentially in a trade somewhere down the line to add some movable salary, in an outgoing trade, or to, package together with another player. Obviously, he himself does not provide any value if he's going to be stepping away from the game of basketball. So it would be very similar to how the Rockets operated utilizing the Kevin Porter Jr. contract last season, where they still had KPJ on the books and they traded that salary for the salary of Victor Oladipo, even though they had no intentions of Victor Oladipo really ever playing in Houston. They traded the salary of KPJ for the salary of Victor Oladipo in order to then make what was the Steven Adams trade down the line. So even though AJ Griffin's salary isn't nearly as much as the KPJ and Victor Oladipo salaries are, it's a non-negligible amount of salary where maybe the Rockets are able to finagle a move. Maybe they're able to flip him for another piece, what have you. It's not like he was going to play a role in the rotation. And it's not like he really even had that big of a chance to carve himself out a spot in the Rockets rotation. So it'll be really interesting to see what they ultimately do with that 15th slot. Maybe they just flat out outright waive him, although I would be surprised to see that as the outcome. I fully expect Rafael Stone and the Rockets front office to do their due diligence to figure out if there's a way that they can capitalize on that salary, even if it's just simply, providing a little bit of salary relief to one of the other 29 teams in the association. That's what they've got to work with, essentially. So it's unfortunate that the AJ Griffin experience for the Rockets was so short-lived. I was excited when they picked him up. I thought that he had a chance to turn his career around here in Houston. I do wish him all the best, and I hope that whatever's going on with him isn't anything of major significance. But yeah, so what do you expect the Rockets to do with AJ Griffin's contract? How do you feel about it, about the situation? Let me know in the YouTube comments. Coming up, we're going to get into, though, the offseason updates from Houston Rockets general manager Rafael Stone, head coach Ime Udoka, and Amen Thompson. Will run back their interviews from the Houston Rockets Patriot Day community event, talk about what they had to say. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. All right, we're going to get to Rafael Stone, Ime Udoka, and Amen Thompson clips here in just a moment, kind of some offseason updates from each one of them. Now, these are the same videos that were already posted to the LOR channel, so if you've seen them already, I do apologize. It's a bit of rehash there, but want to make sure that we get this out to the podcast feed for the audio-only listeners and kind of share some thoughts on what each of these guys had to say about the offseason so far. So let's go ahead and dive right in with Rafael Stone first.
You got your three young guys here today. I assume they've been in town working out. Are there others? And how have the workouts been, if there have been some?
No, the workouts have been great. We have the majority of our team in. I think we have like 13, 14 guys. No, we had 15 guys. Oh, yeah, we had 15 guys yesterday in the gym. And so, it's been great. The workouts have been really good. Our players have gotten better. We are, frankly, excited for the season to start.
How's the new practice facility?
It's wonderful. It accommodates 15 guys. It will easily accommodate 20 when we get to that point. And it's been really good. I mean, first of all, everything's just state of the art and really, really well done. Shout out to Tillman because he a very personal touch on it, and a lot of his decisions are things I would not have thought of, and they're really smart. Ime and I were actually talking about the location of our offices yesterday and how we would not have done it, but we would have been wrong. So, anyway, yeah, it's been wonderful.
Do you have any kind of update on contract talks with either Jalen and Alperen? Do you have any expectations?
I do not talk about contract talks.
How much of a difference does it make having it in Houston instead of having to travel for training camp?
I mean, we'll see, right? We're not in camp yet, but I think of all the things involved, I think that'll be one of the smaller ones. But still really nice. You know what I mean? And so I think just the ability to have a dedicated facility that is built around the team's needs is honestly, it's much more of a game changer than I thought it would be. Like when you're in it and you're using it, you're newly appreciative. I mean, all you need to play basketball is a basketball court, right? And so that's very much kind of where we've been for the last X years, 20 years that I've been with the organization, and no one's felt like, oh, we didn't have the resources we needed. But all of a sudden you get all these new resources, you're like, man, this is amazing. And I think that's where we're at. But, it's been really, really nice.
Going back to these workouts, it would seem that there will be competition for minutes and roles and so on. Is this the start of that, or is this getting ready for what will be the start of that?
That's a wonderful question for Coach Udoka. And you're going to get the opportunity to ask him in about 2.5 minutes.
Were you happy to see Jalen kind of take the lead, organize summer workouts?
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. I mean, it was he had the idea, and it got circulated, and everybody was in. But it turned out no one actually told Jalen it was in. So there was a funny moment like halfway through the summer when Jalen's like, who the heck's, who's coming? And everybody's like, me, and so we were all scattered around the country, but everybody came, and everybody who was able, I shouldn't say everybody who hadn't had a prior commitment at the time when he sent the note out. But yeah, it was really cool. And again, it's part of maturing and developing as a team is having some of our younger guys take on some of that load. And they had a really good 3 days, 4 days? It was 4 days. And then we had fun off the court too. I was able to make it out, and it was a good time.
Okay, so some off-season updates from General Manager Rafael Stone. Clearly very excited about the new training facility. That's going to be a recurring theme here from both Udoka and Amen Thompson as well. Just kind of everybody's been blown away by the training facility. As I understand it, they started using the training facility officially actually right before Summer League happened. So they actually held a few workouts, a few practices, I should say, at the training facility. And then it seems everybody got, formally moved in after Summer League, or, earlier this month or something. And so the guys have been there. They've been using it. They've gotten, accustomed to all the different state-of-the-art equipment and everything. So I'm excited. I can't wait to go take a look at it and get a chance to see it with my own two eyes, having been there with the hard hat in the background while they were still building it all out. To my knowledge, media is going to get a chance to, we're going to be allowed to tour the facility before media day. So we'll get an in-depth look at everything that they've got going on there. My plan is to, just like I try to do with everything, is I'm going to videotape the whole process and be able to hopefully upload that to the YouTube channel, so you guys will get a in-depth look at everything that I'm looking at. So I might just strap a GoPro to my forehead or something and make it easier, instead of having to carry my tripod around and turn it and point at everything. Then you can just see what I'm seeing. It'll be like a first-person POV of the walkthrough of the training facility. But on the note about the contract stuff for Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun, Rafael Stone, he stays on brand. He refuses to ever talk about contract negotiations, even hinting at stuff. He just straight up, he plays like a lawyer and he's not going to talk about it, which is fair, right? At least everything that we understand about the situation right now, it seems like the Rockets are posturing that they have no intentions of extending either of them going into the season. However, I will say that I did hear the other day, and again, you take this with a massive grain of salt, that the conversations had shifted from there's not going to be an extension to there's a small chance an extension happens, at least for Alperen Sengun. Now, again, you take that with a massive grain of salt, but at least that's potentially progress from talks being it's not going to happen to talks being maybe there's a small chance it happens. It seems like things are maybe moving in a positive direction, but it's really hard to tell at this point. And again, I wouldn't blame the Rockets organizationally for just kicking the can down the road and revisiting the conversation for both of them, for Jalen and Sengun, next offseason. There's a lot of financial incentives centered on both of those guys, right? For Jalen, it's a prove-it year, and for Alpi, the Rockets can open up about an extra $20 million in cap room next offseason by delaying and not giving him the max extension this offseason. So understandably, I get it. There's reasons behind the decisions for both of those guys and why the extensions haven't taken place yet. The other thing is, I thought, Stone's commentary on training camp being at the new facility, right? Obviously, state-of-the-art technology, all this stuff. But I brought it up before. I am very curious to see how it's going to be handled, having training camp in Houston at the new practice facility as opposed to going out and doing something somewhere else. Again, I bring up the chemistry element of it, right? The bonding experience is so important, I feel like, for these teams to go through training camp and get that experience with one another. And I'm curious how different that'll be this year, where guys, you go through training camp and you go home at the end of the night instead of going back to the hotel or going out and having team dinners and stuff like that. I mean, maybe they still do some of that stuff, but at the end of the day, you still go home at the end of the night rather than spending all of that time with your new teammates. It is worth noting that we'll have media day. I was confirmed. I forget if this has already been shared or not, but at least just to reconfirm, if I haven't shared it already on the show, media day will be September 30th. I wasn't sure if it was going to be September 30th or Friday the 27th, but media day the 30th, and then training camp immediately thereafter. So Rockets training camp will be that first week of October, and then obviously the very first preseason game for the Rockets, October 7th. Now, I want to get to some of the fun stuff that Ime Udoka and Amen Thompson had to talk about. Most notably, Amen Thompson possibly still growing, might be getting a little bit taller. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Look, GameTime has a new feature called GameTime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. GameTime Picks filters out all the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different ticket offers. And that's not the only perk that you get with Game Time. They have seat view, so you know exactly what it's going to be like once you're actually at the venue. They've got their lowest price guarantee, Game Time ticket coverage, so if anything goes wrong, they get the reimbursement, flexible customer service policy, so many different things. My favorite thing, though, is their all-in pricing. Look, I don't know about you. My least favorite thing is when you're buying tickets to, could be go to a basketball game, football game, concert, whatever. You're going through the process, and at the very end, they hit you with like the digital handling fees and the service charges and all these fees, and you end up paying more in fees than you do for the actual tickets. With Game Time, they give you their all-in pricing. You toggle on the feature through the Game Time app, and then they show you your total up front. It's fully transparent throughout the whole process. That way you're not surprised at the tail end when you're like, oh my God, all these fees are racking up, right? So take the guesswork out of buying your tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast, home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Let's go ahead and dive into what head coach Ime Udoka had to say about how the offseason's been going so far.
Well, Phil was saying there's about 15 guys working out right now. How valuable is that as sort of a running start to training camp? And even for sort of the position competitions or role competitions that are coming up?
Yeah, it's huge to get guys in the gym together early. I think, we've had a long off season, unfortunately, and a lot of time to work. So guys have been grinding away, and we got a young group of workers, and so you get the vets in there, and the whole coaching staff. We're all together in there going at it, and gives us a chance to take a look at guys, see them in different roles, and just see who's grown over the summer and put their work in. And so it's always good to get off to an early start, and second year under our coaching staff and some of these guys. Other than adding a few guys here and there, I think we'll have some more continuity so we can kind of hit the ground running.
Anybody look different than when you saw them and when we saw them in April?
Physically, yes. Immediately you saw a few guys. I mean, our men stood out, and then you see some of the work these guys are putting in the weight room, but the games as well. And so this is a good lead up to training camp, and like I said, get a head start on that. And you can see, like I said, physically, we have a bunch of young guys that are going to grow and get bigger rapidly, and you've seen some of that just coming back within a month.
What's been your impression of the new facility, and what would you say is the biggest upgrade that you guys have now that you maybe didn't have before?
That's great. I think our guys got in right before summer league, and all the guys that are back excited, of course. A lot of us were used to having a facility, and so it was a little bit different last year, but I would say the best thing that's most utilized is the 2 courts up top, and so we can do a lot more work with a lot more guys on the court instead of just hitting 2-3 baskets. So plenty of space. It's spacious, and all the amenities you need, so we're happy to be home.
Did we know that last week Jalen kind of organized and get a lot of guys together for some workouts like that?
Yeah, it's good. I think usually it's one of the veteran guys that does that, but I think the fact that he got everybody out to California to kind of put in some work, like I said, it's a chance to get a head start and hit the ground running. So we have guys in our gym all summer, but to kind of get a break from Houston and get away and do things and team dinners and a lot of camaraderie building, it was big for him.
How much have you enjoyed him and the guys in general this summer?
Yeah, we're around all the time. Obviously, we go see guys in and out of their cities, wherever they're at. And so when we're on the road traveling, we try to coordinate everything where our guys will be at the same time so we can have some eyes and hands on them throughout the summer. So, like I said, it's a chance to build those relationships and put in some extra work in the offseason.
How important is it not
Last question.
this offseason for you guys right now, not to have to introduce yourselves and get to know each other?
Yeah, it's always good to have that first year under your belt. Kind of set the foundation last year so we can, we don't skip any steps and start from the ground up again and try to build the things that we did last year. But you don't have to introduce terminology, new coaching, personalities, get to know each other and all those things. And so that's big for us. But we're building up like we never started before. But it's always good to have the film and the stuff to kind of lean back on and we show these guys what they did well, what areas they improved on, and always good to have that going into the second year.
Let's tackle what Ime Udoka had to say last there first, and that's the continuity angle is, I think, going to be really big for this Houston Rockets team. Like, they're bringing back basically almost an identical team to last season, just with the addition of Reed Shepherd as one of the, I guess, integral parts of, going to have, a significant role. So I do think for a very young team, right, having that continuity, like Ime said, right, not having to learn all this new terminology, not having to break everybody down and build them back up, this Rockets team should be able to hit the ground running because they already know what's up. They know what the expectations are. They know the terminology. They know everything. They're familiar with the coaching staff. That is going to be a huge benefit to this Rockets team this season. A couple of the other things that he had to tackle. First off, I really wish I could have gotten my question, and I was on the fence whether I wanted to ask about what the focus was for Alperen Sengun's workouts and the coaches who went overseas to spend time with him in Turkey this offseason versus, we knew about how transparent Ime was about cleaning up the defense last season. And, he made it a point of emphasis to, reduce or to fix the transition defense and then the opponent's points off turnovers. And the Rockets were league leaders in both of those statistical categories throughout most of the season. I'm very curious, and I'll get a chance to ask him this at some point down the line. It probably won't be until media day unless there's another Rockets event between now and then, which I don't expect there to be. But I'm very curious what the point of emphasis or points of emphasis are going into this season. What is Ime trying to clean up? What does the coaching staff have this group focused on? All those little things that, a coach has to think about over the course of the offseason, right? How is he going to clean this team up? How is he going to elevate and take this team to the next level this year? I also think it's worth noting, right? I literally just talked about this in our last segment about the practice facility and having training camp there. But Ime highlighted the importance, right, of the team and Jalen Green taking the initiative and hosting the Rockets mini camp out in LA. He talked about the camaraderie, the chemistry, getting guys in a gym and getting guys, letting guys get to know each other. The human element is so important when it comes to sports, when it comes to teams, everything. And so I am, again, the fact that Ime mentioned it, he didn't mention it in a negative light, talking about, training camp and how that's going to impact things. But I just want to highlight here, like, I'm not crazy when I talk about saying, like, oh yeah, like spending time together, team dinners, team outings, like all that stuff, the bonding that these players and coaches go through is so very important to their not only their individual success, but also their team success. And since I'm just kind of working my way backwards through everything that Ime had to talk about, I thought it was noteworthy, right? That when asked, does anybody look different from when we last saw them last season? The first name, the only name that he specifically highlighted was Amen Thompson, talking about how he looks different physically, right? And obviously Amen Thompson, we know he is psychotic when it comes to his work ethic and going back to the pre-draft profiles of him and his brother Asar and how they would, work out for hours in a closed gym with no music, right? Like that's some like Kobe MJ level, like, locked in mentality to sit in an empty gym for hours upon hours, working out, crafting, working on your skills, all those different things. So for Ime to share even that little bit of praise ahead of the season, I think speaks volumes about what Amen Thompson is going to do this year, and hopefully that he's changed and improved for the better. But you don't have to take my word for it. Let's listen to the man himself. Let's hear what Amen Thompson had to say about his offseason so far.
Ime said you looked different physically coming in this year when he saw you in the gym recently. Do you feel different physically? Do you feel like you've grown in strength, speed-wise, anything like that?
Yeah, I feel a lot different, just getting stronger, getting faster, getting more athletic. But just a lot of growth this summer, and I feel like that's translating to the court.
Did you literally grow this summer? You look a little taller.
People keep telling me that. I don't know. I hope so. Unless they're saying I'm 6'8".
You've been able to about Reed in these workouts in particular this summer. What impressed you about Reed in particular in these workouts this summer?
It's very poised, and got Curry range, so that's the first thing you notice. Just very poised player, very good guy. So yeah. Very impressed.
You've been able to work out on that new facility. What would you say is the biggest upgrade that you guys have now, maybe on what you had before?
2 courts, so that's way better. Just the whole vibe in there, like you can be in there for hours on hours just because it's beautiful.
Were there things you learned through your rookie year that you applied to workouts this summer?
Yeah, for sure. How just the things I went through, led to what we worked on this summer, what the coaches wanted me to work on, and what I wanted to work on myself.
What are those things?
Just how we played, I know we played, and being more aggressive, just getting better at all aspects of my game.
I mean, you got a chance to be part of the USA Select team right now, the Olympic team. How was that? What experience was that experience for you?
It was a great experience. You know, some of those guys I looked up to growing up. So playing against those dudes and competing against them, it was fun, for sure.
Thank you. Last question.
No hard matchups.
Oh.
Amen, no hard matchups, Thompson. What a walk-off quote from him. Love that intensity, love that mentality. First off, I told you guys the two courts theme was going to be wildly consistent across the board. Just the fact that the Rockets are going to have so much more space at that practice facility. I do think that for a coaching staff that we already know has taken the development of these players so seriously, it's going to do wonders to have them have so much more space and be able to do some individual workouts with guys, on one court, and then be, running scrimmages on the other court or doing whatever. So I cannot wait to see how this elevates the team in and of itself. Like Rafael said all the way, when we heard him say it, right, you don't realize you're missing that stuff until you have that stuff. So I'm very excited for the players to have, a facility that is worthy of them to, excel and grow their individual games. But a lot to take away from what Amen Thompson said. First off, I am going to start saying he's 6'8". He looked taller. It's worth noting that he was wearing slides at this event. Cam Whitmore was wearing wearing some Jordans or whatever, and he was like clearly taller than Cam Whitmore while wearing slides. So, and they're both listed at 6'7". So I do think that Amen Thompson probably grew a little bit. You kind of off on the side before we started talking to him. He was joking about it with somebody else. Like, yeah, I might have grown a little bit this summer. So that would be, that's a nice little development to talk about a 6'8" point guard with elite defensive capabilities. And then when he was asked about kind of what he was working on, it was a little under the radar, but because he kind of like muttered it, but he said, how I'm going to be played. And I thought that was a really big, important thing, even though it's flying a little bit under the radar. How I'm going to be played is what they were focusing on. So what I think that tells me is, they really did probably work on adapting his game. And I think the expectations, that I could be reaching a little bit here, but I fully expect Amen Thompson to have the ball in his hands a lot more this season. Specifically, when you think about the line, how I'm going to be played, well, how he's going to be played, if he's still playing out of the dunker spot, if that's what their plan was, if their plan was to use him the exact same way they used him last year, you don't really have to, work on how you're going to be played a lot when all you're doing is reacting to how the defense is. But if you're going to be guarded one-on-one, if you're going to be expected to initiate offense, if you're going to be, and again, I don't want to downplay, like obviously, yes, he still has to, understand how defenses are rotating and, what reads to make and stuff out of the dunker spot. I'm not going to downplay that level of his game, but I do think there's a certain level of expectations and scrutiny, and it's a lot harder when you have the ball in your hands and you've got an entire defense geared towards slowing you down. So I hear that line, and it makes me think, okay, well, I hope the Rockets put in some work with him this offseason. He was playing coy a little bit. He didn't highlight any specific skills that he had worked on, just, talking about elevating his overall game, all that kind of stuff. But he did seem incredibly confident when talking about his physical growth. When I asked him, and he said that he feels like it's translating to the court. That's big time for Amen Thompson. And the last thing that is so relevant to talk about here is, when asked about Reed Sheppard, right, and his early impressions, he cited two different things. He cited Reed's poise, and he said he's got Curry range. Like, that is such an incredible compliment from Amen Thompson, from a guy who's had to actually guard Steph Curry, who's shared a court with him. So I cannot wait to see those two in particular in action this upcoming season, seeing Reed play off of Amen, seeing Amen play off of Reed. Those two guys are a backcourt, like complementary backcourt match made in heaven, with the way that their game should flow seamlessly off of one another. So I'm hype after hearing Amen Thompson talk about it. And then again, just the attitude to walk off the interview, talking about his team or his select USA team experience, and some of the different players that he had to match up against during that experience, saying no hard matchups. Just absolutely love that from him. But I want your thoughts. What was your favorite quote from this, series of interviews? Who did you enjoy hearing from the most? Let me know in the YouTube comments. Give me your thoughts on the AJ Griffin situation, all that good stuff. But as always, thank you so much for checking out the show. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. We look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.